What even is that?
These are my moves.
Aftersun, the feature-length directorial debut from Charlotte Wells, isn't afraid to be creative in its cinematography and shot selection. Importantly, however, they are used with care and don't detract from the performances on screen. The camera is used purposefully to aid the tone of the story and the feeling it wants to elicit in its audience. But it doesn't stop there. It uses the camera as a key driver of the film. The movie is centred around a 31-year-old Sophie,
Happy birthday, Sophie.
who is watching videos from a family holiday she had with her father Callum 20 years prior.
And I've just come in for $200
This was spoiled in the trailer, which I didn't see, and also made fairly obvious at the start of the film, which I also missed on first viewing. The movie is therefore about looking back. The cinematography reflects this perfectly, with lots of shots being set up so the viewer is looking at a reflection, which places us in the same position as the main protagonist.
Oh my god, he's doing some real slow motion ninja moves.
The movie also quite often refuses to allow the audience the release of cutting away from a scene, adding to the tension and dread that builds throughout the film towards its conclusion. It also makes us more empathetic towards both Sophie and her dad, as it gives us a sense we are seeing more of them than what we are entitled to. An example of a masterful choice of shot selection is a scene where Sophie and Callum get a Polaroid photo taken, and we stay on the photo as it develops, whilst they continue their conversation.
Did you have a good holiday then?
The best. Wish we could have stayed for longer.
This again places us in the shoes of Sophie, as that photo is likely the only memory she has kept from that evening, which again ties into the themes of looking back and the memories we have. It is also implied that this is the last photo they have together, as it is strongly suggested at the end of the film that Callum commits suicide after the end of the holiday. Which brings us to the key aspect of Aftersun's cinematography that sets it apart. The film is interspersed with footage from a handheld video camera that Callum has brought with them, which lends well to the stripped-back nature of the story. Lots of films use found footage to complement the tone of the story, but the fact that Sophie is watching that footage 20 years later, just like us as the audience, brings us closer to her. This would elevate its choice beyond most films that use that technique, but how Aftersun goes above and beyond is the reason the video camera was ever on the holiday at all. Callum's mental health struggles are hinted at throughout the story, and it dawns on the audience that he is using the footage of the holiday to leave as a memory of him for his daughter as he plans to end his life. For example, one of the opening shots of the film, which was revisited later on, is Sophie filming her dad and attempting to interview him.
When you were 11, what did you think you would be doing now?
He clearly doesn't feel the question or his mood at the time will be a positive memory for his daughter, so he asks her to stop filming.
Hello? What did you think you would be doing now?
Well, so turn it off now, okay?
We also see him looking at footage captured from the holiday and being visibly upset. He doesn't feel he has given his daughter enough memories to fondly look back on. This makes cinematography not just a way to complement the story, but a key driver of it, which is an incredibly rare feat in storytelling. One other great example is from Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. The book is written in a diary format, particularly by one of the two main characters, Amy, who has suddenly been violently abducted from a perfect suburban life with her husband. The use of a diary format, even on its own, could have been a perfectly valid way to deliver the story, as it would give an insight into the characters' inner thoughts and feelings, and things that they might be keeping from their partner.
100% true. No bullshit.
However, it is revealed that Amy has staged her own abduction, with the aims of implicating her husband for the murder. What Gone Girl does so brilliantly is the fact that the fabricated diary has been kept by Amy as evidence in order to frame her husband and dupe the police, as well as the reader alongside it. This is an incredibly clever way of subverting the trope of an epistolary novel. It almost makes the reader feel personally betrayed by Amy, not only expertly placing us in the shoes of her husband, but leaving us desperately craving her retribution. Aftersun is similarly precise in the way it tells its story, and causes as profound an effect on us as the audience. The combination of Charlotte Wells, cinematographer Gregory Oke, and editor Blair McClendon deserve a lot of credit for making a film of relatively few words through their use of the camera.